Hey friends, it's Jennifer. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm back today with this quilted cover journal that I'm making, and we've put the signatures into the binding, and now we've got the cover that we need to attach with our closure, and so that's what we're going to do today. So in the last video, I showed you how I sewed these signatures in, and I will link that video. But now today it's time to put the quilted cover onto the journal and our closure, which I have picked this elastic that I'm going to put in the back of the book here, and it will just come around the front. And I'm just going to use my hot glue gun just to glue this elastic down. I'm going to use my ruler. You don't have to use a ruler, but I'm just going to mark out about 1.5 inches from the end here, and I'm just going to mark on both sides and draw my line there so I'll know where to glue my elastic into. You don't have to use elastic. There are a number of different ways to close your book. You can use Chicago screws. You can really, you can use anything, but for this particular one, I chose to use elastic just to come across the top there, and it's just really simple, and I did that because I didn't want to interrupt the beautiful edges that I have in this journal, which are the feathers and different things like that, and I didn't want something coming up in the middle crossing over that, so that's one of the reasons that I chose this elastic. And so now you can see I put it on there. It seems a little bit big to me, even with the quilted cover. So I'm just going to go back and take one of the edges off and just re-glue it a little bit there where it will be a little bit tighter. Okay, so now that I've got that done, I'm just going to take some glue and my paintbrush, and I'm just going to start gluing the front and back cover and the spine. I'm going to start with the spine first, and I'm just measuring up here about where the quilted cover needs to lay in here. You can see that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do first is go ahead and glue the spine on the inside, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue down one side there, or put glue down on one side, and I'm just going to take my paintbrush and spread all of that out. I'm going to slip a piece of paper in there just so that it doesn't get everywhere. I'm just going through and making sure that I get all of the chipboard cover covered in the glue. And now I'm just going to go do the other side. Just put glue liberally on it and then just spread it out. Now I'm trying to take it and flip it over. The good thing is that this is school glue, and so it doesn't dry immediately on contact, so you can raise it and lift it and maneuver it around a little bit where you can see what you're doing there. But I finally got it figured out on there, and now I'm just pressing it down on the edges there, making sure that everything is kind of sticking down where it should. And then I'm just going to lay books down on the ends here to get it to dry. And so now that I've done that and it's dry, you can see, mostly dry. I shouldn't say all dry, but it's contact dry where it's not going to totally peel off. And so while it's still mostly dry, I'm going to go in there and make sure that the spine, those curved edges there are I'm just pressing in to make sure that they're sticking really good. And now I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm just going to go in between all of the signatures and just press down really good in between that on the spine just to make sure that all of that gets adhered pretty good to the glue. Again, this has been probably about 20 minutes or so that I have let it dry with the book on each end, allowing it to mostly dry, but it's not totally dry. And so now I'm going back and just making sure that in between all the spaces, it's nailed down pretty good to the book. And so now I'm just going to go in there and I'm just going to measure out about how far I'll need. And so I'm just going to take my scissors and just trim down. I usually leave about an inch and a quarter on each side, just so that I'll have enough space to tuck it in, glue it down on that side, because this is a quilted rag, quilted cover. I chose to leave about, I would say it's about an inch and a fourth, maybe to an inch and a half. And so now I'm just going to glue down these insides here. And so the first thing I'm going to do is lay some glue down and on the edge, which I should have trimmed my edges first, but I didn't, but that's okay. So I usually fold it over in a triangle here and just kind of get a line, and I cut about 1/4 of an inch off of those corners. And then I tuck in the sides, and you can see I'm just using sewing clips here to hold it down. Because this is quilted, it's thicker, and so I'm using glue on the inside, and then I'm going to go back and use hot glue on the outer edge of it just to hold it down there. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the back edge, except this time I'm going to cut my edges off first. And again, I just fold them in kind of like a triangle and mark it, and then I cut about 1/4 of an inch above that. Now, because this has got a quilted back to it, and because the clasp is in the back, the closure's in the back, I'm still going to glue down the one edge there because it will cover, it will lay down okay without interrupting the closure there. And so I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to glue this down and clip it with some sewing clips, and then I'm going to go back with hot glue and glue the outer edge of that down just because it's thicker. Okay, so now I'm going to take these clips off because that is dry. Those two edges are dry, and I made sure that it folded really good. And now we're going to go back and work on these edges here. Now, because again, the closure is here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to snip in where the spine is. I'm going to cut a piece off there, and I'm going to do the same thing where the closure is. Now, I'm not going to cut all the way up to the top, but I'm going to cut close to the top and leave a little section there. And then you'll see whenever I go through here that I will glue that in, tuck that in, and clip it down by itself, because you don't want to cover that closure, but you also need for the cover to fold over the edges there. So that's why I cut that out. And now I'm just going to tuck these edges here and put a little glue down, and I'm going to clip that down as well. And then on the other piece, I'm just going to go in there and glue it down and clip it down as well, because it is cut away from the spine. And then I'm just going to repeat on the other side, but I am going to take some hot glue and glue down those edges there, just like I did whenever I did the side there. Only because it's thicker material, it's got batting in it, and so it's a little bit thicker. And so now I'm going to do the same thing on the front side, except the front side's going to be a little bit easier because there's no closure to work around. And so basically it's the same process. You just lay down some glue and turn in your edges there, and then I'm just going to clip it down. And again, I'm going to use some hot glue because it is thicker on the outer edge there, just to make sure that it gets laid down. So you can just see I'm trimming away some of that bulkiness on the corner there, and I'm just going to glue it down as well. Always remember when you're working with hot glue that it is hot. I know a lot of crafters who don't have fingerprints anymore because they've burned them off with hot glue. So be very careful. And so now the spine is going to be the same way as the closure part. I'm going to snip off about 1/4 of an inch from the edge there, and I'm just going to curl that up in there, and I'm just going to put some sewing clips on that just to keep it together. I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to leave about 1/4 of an inch and then tuck it in there. So now I'm going to let this dry. And once that's complete, then we are going to go in here. I'm going to take out all of these clips. And I'm just making sure that the closure closes down on here, and it does. So now we need to work on the inside, or what I call the guts of the covers. And so I'm just taking some, this is some scrapbook paper. It's like cardstock, it's a little bit thicker. And I'm just not really measuring, but I'm kind of measuring like where it is. And I'm going to take this to my trimmer and cut it off. And I'm just going to cut 2 of those pieces there, and I'm just laying them in here just to make sure that they're going to fit on the inside there. And I'm going to take my corner chomper, my crocodile, and I'm going to cut the corners off here, off of each one for the front and the back. And I'm going to take them to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew around the edges like I did here. So now once again, I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to glue it down. I'm going to hit the insides with just regular white glue, and then I'm going to go back with my hot glue gun there, and I'm going to hit the edges with it. And so now I'm just going to let these dry. I put a book on each end, and you can see that they are dry from that glue. And now I'm going to go back with the hot glue gun, and I'm going to hit those edges right there just to make sure that everything is tucked down nicely. And once again, if you're working with hot glue, be careful because it is hot for a reason. And so now I'm just going back and making sure that all of the top and bottom edges are sealed down as well. And so now here it is. The cover is glued down with the closure. We worked really hard to get this book where it's at so far. And I love the way that it's turned out. We've got the signatures in. We've got the cover on. We've got the guts of it done. And so now the next thing will be to decorate the inside. So that's what we'll do the next time we work on this. Hope you enjoyed this.